Larry Page and Sergey Brin were the kind of guys who kept Bill Gates up at night. Journalist Ken Auletta.
I said, Mr. Gates, what is your nightmare? And I thought he would say Apple or Netscape or Oracle. And he said, I'll tell you what I worry about. I worry about some guy in a garage inventing a new technology Microsoft has never thought about. Well, in '98, two guys were in a garage, and the hand-lettered sign, and it said, Google Worldwide Headquarters. Larry Page, CEO, Sergey Brin, President.
In an industry where innovation is just part of the job description, Larry Page and Sergey Brin have become virtual masters of the universe of information gathering. Their creation is part of our language, our daily routine. What we don't know, we Google.
629,000 results. Wow. And all this time I thought Googling yourself meant the other thing.
Not anymore. But most of us don't understand how it works, or how Google has managed to consistently stay ahead of its closest competitors. Silicon Valley is littered with startups that have stalled out. Why these two computer science geeks succeeded may have a lot to do with the nearly parallel lives they led before creating together one of the world's largest and most powerful companies. Brin and Page respectfully declined to participate in this program. Sergey Brin was born in the Soviet Union in 1973. His parents were mathematicians and Jewish, which limited their career opportunities. Mark Malseed is the co-author of The Google Story.
So Sergey's father went to a conference in Warsaw, met a whole bunch of colleagues from the West, saw what life was like outside the Soviet Union, came back, sat the family down and said, we have to leave.
His parents brought with them a sense of purpose they instilled in their son. It boiled down to a simple message.
Don't come back with a B. Don't come back with the second place award. Make it first. Always. And Sergey internalized this, and it did form a core part of his personality.
Like Brin, Larry Page was born in 1973. His family lived in Michigan, and his father was the first person in his family to get a college degree. Both of his parents were in similar fields as Brin's.
They were the second generation computer science, which at that time was very unusual because computer science was really only developing as a field in the 60s, and here both of their parents were advanced degrees.
Elliot Soloway is a computer science professor at the University of Michigan, where Larry was an undergraduate.
Larry was willing to take a risk. It wasn't about the grade. He didn't care about the grade. He wanted to do something in technology and build something different. He doesn't give up. He goes at something and he sticks with it. That's really exciting to work with a student like that because they're willing to take a risk, they're willing to take a chance, and they're willing to put themselves out.
Clearly, coming from homes where the parents talked about ideas and pushed their kids to study, to think outside the box, they see themselves as on a mission. And that mission, it really does spring from their biographies.
In 2009, Page shared that mission with the graduating class at the University of Michigan.
You know what it's like to wake up in the middle of the night with a vivid dream? And you know how if you don't have a pencil and pad by the bed, it will be completely gone by the next morning. I had one of those dreams when I was 23. When I suddenly woke up, I was thinking, what if we could download the whole web and just keep the links? And I grabbed a pen and started writing. Soon after, I told my advisor, Terry Winograd, it would take a couple of weeks for me to download the web. He nodded knowingly, fully aware it would take much longer, but wise enough not to tell me.
Stanford professor and engineering consultant to Google, Terry Winograd.
Larry just thinks of ways of doing things that you might not expect. Sergey was a lot like Larry. He also was someone who really wanted to think outside the box, to say, if that sounds like it's impossible, let's try it.
It was 1995 at Stanford University when the headstrong overachievers first met.
Sparks flew. They each thought the other person arrogant, strong-willed, but that's actually formed the basis of friendship.
Sergey is the more affable of the two. He has a more outgoing personality than Larry. Larry tends to look at the floor while he talks.
One of their Stanford professors used to say, well, the difference between the two of them was that Sergey would just burst into my office without asking. Larry would knock and then burst in.
Page had an audacious dream: to download the entire web. Brin's was similar.
Sergey's big interest was in taking all the pages on the World Wide Web and trying to make sense of it, trying to find patterns.
In the 90s, searching the internet was rudimentary, hit or miss, often returning results that were useless.
If you typed in the search Alta Vista into Alta Vista, it couldn't find itself.
Or misleading.
A search for rental cars would turn up papers about the business of car rentals.
And the process was very slow.
So you typed in your query, you did something else while you waited for it to get the results, then you went back and looked at the results, and most of them were completely irrelevant.
Page and Brin pushed for something better.
The computer science professors thought he was crazy.
Using Page's downloaded web, the two young engineers proved them wrong.
By creating this large data set, Larry and Sergey were, all of a sudden able to run all kinds of experiments, look for patterns, find, ultimately, a better way to search.
They started to do a record of backlinks, they called them.
Page noticed that behind every web page, there were hundreds or even thousands of other pages that linked to it. It was a eureka moment that would change the so-called information age.
Then they realized that that list of backlinks could be used for ranking. If you have more backlinks, it showed you a better page.
If a lot of other websites linked to a web page, that probably meant users thought it was good.
So the genius was in recognizing that this kind of algorithm could give you the kind of results that mattered the most to searchers.
Page and Brin had their secret formula. Now it needed a name.
The guys were looking for a great name that was going to capture the grandiose vision that they had and hit upon this giant number, one with 100 zeros after it, commonly known as Google. G-O-O-G-O-L. They discovered it was owned. They said, you know what, let's put a friendlier spelling on it.
On September 15th, 1990,